Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review, and this one's kind of a cool little thing that I'm glad I picked up. It is from the Steve Miller Band. It is called J50, The Evolution of the Joker, and basically what this is a celebration of the album The Joker, which came out in '73. And this is not like anything I've ever heard before. I actually haven't listened to this album probably in like 30 years. I couldn't even, if you were to tell me to name a song off of this from other than The Joker, I couldn't have done it. I like Steve Miller. I have all his stuff, but I don't go back and listen to it very much at all anymore. I used to listen to it a lot. But the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I just haven't listened to much of Steve Miller. But this was interesting to me because what it is, it's supposed to be him presenting a bunch of extra songs or earlier versions of the songs that were on the album, and it shows how the whole album process in recording and songwriting went. And I've never really seen anything quite done like this before, so I had to get it. So it starts out, and there's a lot. I mean, the original album was only 9 songs. This has, 19 tracks on the first CD and 24 on the second. Now, admittedly, there's commentary on here, but there's only like 6 spots where he does a commentary. And a couple of these are really short, but most of these are like full-length songs. This kind of starts out with him explaining what it is, just a little commentary from Steve Miller. And if you ever listen to Steve Miller talk, he's actually a pretty cool dude. The speech he gave for his acceptance speech for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is classic. It's like one of the funniest things you'll ever hear, where he just gets up there and thanks his fans and just bashes on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He does not like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He made that very clear, and he definitely has never been shy about sharing his opinion on things, and I kind of respect that about him. And I've always enjoyed his music. I kind of played a few of his songs and bands and stuff like that. So anyway, back to the album here. It starts out, and it just gives a little, it's like a little acoustic concert he did in early '72, May of '72, and there's like 6 songs that just him and acoustic guitar. And it's actually got Space Cowboy on there, which is kind of cool. And then it gets into the second commentary part, where it starts explaining the evolution of the actual album and how the song started, and it just kind of goes down through. It gets like an earlier version of Sugar Babe, there's a live version, and then Mary Lou does this kind of the same thing there, where they show like an earlier rehearsal, and then the final. So it doesn't play all the tracks from the actual Joker album in a row at all. It's actually sporadic throughout the whole thing, and it just kind of shows the evolution of each one as it goes through. Now, not funny, but one of the more interesting ones was Shabba Do Mama Mama, whatever that really is. I can't even remember how he enunciated it in the song. But he has several songs on here, one called Hat, one called Say Hey Ray, and one called White Elephant, where it's got elements of that song in it that they were going through. One's alive, and then there's a couple studio rehearsals, and then it shows like an earlier version of that song, and then the final version. So it really does show how that song has evolved. The only other thing I've ever seen anybody release that's kind of like this, there's got other bands that have released stuff with extra bonus discs and demos and stuff like that. There's lots of bands that have done that. The only ones that even come close, I think, is Whitesnake, where he's done his Evolution CD that he throws in the box sets. David Coverdale, that is. And each song is a progression of how it progressed, but it's like split up. Like you have a demo at the beginning of it, and then it'll cut to like a middle version, a rehearsal, and then it'll cut like to an end version, but all within the same song. Not a whole album worth of demos, and no explanation at all. And that, but this one is completely that, except with some commentary and the entire songs. And so that's completes like first CD, so that's like 19 tracks there all together. And then CD 2 does the same thing. And the cool thing on here, he's got there's a lot of extra songs on here. There's like 8 extra songs that have never appeared on anything before, so there's bonus stuff here on top of all the the demoing and explanation of how it evolved. And the song Light Eye is actually really cool. There's a couple short versions of this, and they do a whole studio version of it, but that song never really became anything. And then there's a song Travelin', which it's funny because it started out with the chorus of the Joker, but that song never got released as anything. He actually performed it live, and then they give you the album version of the Joker, which has the chorus that used to be the verse of the song called Travelin'. So really cool. And then, it keeps on doing that as it goes on. Come On in My Kitchen was actually a live version on the original, I believe. And then there's the album versions on here again. There's a couple different versions of how he did that. And then it just keeps going through. There's actually an a cappella version of Coupe de Ville in here, which was pretty cool. And it just shows how Steve Miller, in case you don't know, like the history of Steve Miller, he actually changed the whole style of the band right around this period, and he wanted to take over production and doing his own albums. And when he did that, the record label fought him on this and blah blah blah, and he's like, no, I want to produce my own stuff. And then he became like very popular after that, and his songs all did great from that point on. So great move on his part. And this kind of shows his production style and how he developed all these ways of recording, not just the songs themselves, but how he just actually did his production. And I thought that was pretty cool. And there's a couple tracks in here where you could tell they're doing it on the road. There's like some 4-track demos that they did in hotels of earlier versions of the songs. And then it ends with the single version of the Joker. And I thought it was really cool. So anyway, that's more than I usually do for an album overview. I don't usually run through every single thing like that, but I thought this one was very deserving of it, and really enjoyed listening to it. It's not one of these albums you're going to put on and just like casually have on. It's probably one you're going to put on and just want to listen to and like actually hear how things developed. You're just going to give your attention to it, I think. So anyway, as always, feel free to share your feelings on Steve Miller and what you think about this album if you've already gotten it. And like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And we'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.